In the last class, we completed up to the ANS. Now we are going to start the next topic here, that is known as the receptors. Today's topic is the receptors here. Today's topic is the receptors here. So we are going to start this topic that is known as the receptors here. What are receptors? Receptors are a group of sensory cells. A group of sensory cells. A group of sensory cells which are present on the surface or any internal side of the body. A group of sensory cells. One who is capable to receive, group of sensory cells capable to receive impulse, that is known as the receptor here. So what is receptor? Group of sensory cells which is capable to receive impulse, that is known as the receptors here. So group of sensory cells capable to receive impulse or impulses, that is known as the receptors here. All the receptors which are present in the human body, they are classified into two types here. Either they are present on the body surface or they are present inside the body here. So on the basis of position, all the receptors are classified into two types. One, that is known as the extero or external receptors, and second one which are known as the internal receptors here. First one known as the external receptor and second one which are known as the internal receptors here, which are present on the body surface, which are present on the body surface. I will say here body surface including the epidermis, including the dermis, and we will say the subcutaneous, that is the subcutaneous tissues of the body here. Subcutaneous tissues of the body here. Subcutaneous tissues, they are known as the exteroreceptor here. So external or exteroreceptors which are present on the body surface, like in epidermis, dermis and subcutaneous tissues, they are known as the external receptor here. Whereas internal receptors which are present inside the body, it means which are present in organs, we can say here inside the body, which are present inside the body. Sometimes they are present in the visceral organ, they may be present in the muscles, tendons here. So they are known as the internal receptors here. So on the basis of position, all the receptors which are present in the human body, they are known as they are classified into two. Extero and internal receptors are there, which are present on the body surface. They are the exteroreceptor. They are present on the epidermis, dermis and the subcutaneous tissues here. And internal receptors which are present inside the body, it means in the organ or any other structure, organs or structures we can say, they are known as the internal receptors here. So exteroreceptor, external receptor and internal receptors, these are the two classification of the receptors on the basis of position here. If they are present on the epidermis, dermis, subcutaneous tissue, they are the external receptor, and if they are present inside the body, they are the internal receptor here. All the exteroreceptors, they are classified, there are so many types of the exteroreceptor here. Just see, first one, if I will say the first one that is known as the photoreceptors. Photoreceptors known by us. What are the photoreceptors? Photoreceptor, they are the eyes. Eyes are the photoreceptor. They are just receiving the photo, which means the light here. Second type of receptor which is present in the human body on the external side, that is known as the statoacoustic receptors. Statoacoustic receptors means they are the ear. They are the statoacoustic receptor. Photoreceptors means they are the eye. They are the eye here. They are related with the sense of vision. And here, just see that stato means balance, acoustic means hearing. They are the ear here. The third type of receptor here, that is we can say here after the here that is the photoreceptor, statoreceptor. The third type of receptors, they are the chemoreceptors. The third type of receptors, they are the chemoreceptors here. Chemoreceptors, those who are responsible for the chemical senses here. And chemoreceptors, there are two types of chemoreceptors. There are two types of chemoreceptors here. Those who are responsible to get the test in the form of chemicals here. First one, that is known as the olfactoreceptor. First one, that is known as the olfactoreceptor. Olfactoreceptor, that is related with the sense of smell. Sense of smell, that is known as the olfactoreceptor, that is related with the sense of smell. And second one, that is known as the gustatoreceptor. Second one, that is known as the gustatoreceptor here. Gustatoreceptor, it is related with the sense of taste. It is related with the sense of taste here. So third one type of receptor, that is the chemoreceptor here. Another two types of receptors are also there. Like if I will say that fourth type of receptor, that is known as the mechanoreceptor. Fourth type of receptor, that is known as the mechanoreceptor. And the fifth type of receptor, that is known as the thermal receptor. Fifth type of receptor, that is known as the thermal receptor here. So these are the five types of external receptor: photoreceptor, statoacoustic receptor, chemoreceptor like olfactoreceptor, sense of smell, sense of taste, and here mechanoreceptor and thermoreceptor here. We will discuss the mechanoreceptors in detail here. Mechanoreceptor. Now thermoreceptors. There are two types of thermoreceptor. There are two types of thermoreceptor. One, that is known as the frigidoreceptor. First one, that is known as the frigidoreceptor, and second one, that is known as the caloreceptor here. Here R for the receptor here. Frigido means we can say that is the cold. Frigido means it is the cold, and calo means we can say heat. Calo means we can say heat here. One is related to receive the cold and one is related to receive the heat here. Related with the frigido, here you have to remember one example, that is the end bulb of Kruge. End bulb of Kruge. Kruge is the name of the scientist here. End bulb of Kruge, which are present on the skin, they are the cold, related to perceive the cold here. And here we will say that is the end bulb of Ruffini. End bulb of Ruffini. End bulb of Ruffini, they are the caloreceptor here. End bulb of Ruffini, they are the caloreceptor here. So end bulb of Kruge, that is the frigidoreceptor, and end bulb of Ruffini, that is the caloreceptor, which are also present on the body surface here. So these are the five types of receptor. We have to discuss eye, we have to discuss nose here, we have to discuss tongue, and we have to discuss about the ear also here. So we have to discuss these different tests and sense of touch, that is the thermal receptor and that is the mechanoreceptor here. So related with these are the different types of receptors which are present on the body surface here. Now going to discuss the first one, that is the sense of touch. We can say sense of touch, mainly it is related with the skin here. Sense of touch, the organ, one who is responsible to receive the sense of touch, that is the skin here. Skin, that is responsible for the sense of touch here. Related with the sense of touch, we can say there are two types. We have to discuss in detail also. One that is known as the thermoreceptor. We have already discussed. Thermoreceptors we have already discussed, so not going to describe it. The important one that is known as the mechanoreceptor. So now we are going to discuss about this type of receptor, that is known as the mechanoreceptor here. So we have to discuss the mechanoreceptor, that is also related with the sense of touch here. There are three types of mechanoreceptors. There are three types of mechanoreceptors here. There are three types of mechanoreceptor. First, those who are responsible to receive the sense of pain, that is the pain here. That is second one, those who are responsible to receive the pressure, and third one, those who are responsible to receive the touch. We can say here it is the touch here. So pen, pressure and touch. PPT. Pen, pressure and touch. Mechanoreceptors are of three types: pen, pressure and touch. Pen, pressure and touch here. Related with the pen, the receptors which are present, they are known as the LJC receptors. They are known as the LJC receptors. They are known as the LJC receptors. Please note it down carefully. Related with the pen, the receptors which are present, they are known as the LJC receptors, or they are also known as the nociceptors. They are also known as the nociceptors. They are known as the LJC receptors, or they are also known as the nociceptors. They are known as the LJC receptors, or they are known as the nociceptors here. So related with pen, they are the LJC receptors, or they are known as the nociceptors. And what are they? The receptors for pen, they are the free nerve endings. They are the free nerve endings. They are the free nerve endings which are present on the skin. So related with the pen, they are the free nerve endings. They are the free nerve endings which are present on the skin here. So pen, related with the pen, they are the free nerve endings which are present on the skin here. So what are the LJC receptors and nociceptors? They are the free nerve endings. They are the free nerve endings which are present on the skin here. They are the receptor for pen here. They are the LJC receptors and nociceptor here. There is a lobe of the brain which is responsible which is having the area to receive the pen here. That is known as the parietal lobe. That is known as the parietal lobe. That is known as the parietal lobe. And it is known by us that on parietal lobe one area is there. That is known as the somatosensory area. If you are remembering this area, somatosensory area that is present on the parietal lobe. Somatosensory area, it is present on the parietal lobe. Somatosensory area, it is present on the parietal lobe. It is related to receive the impulse of pen here. Just see somatosensory. It is related with the perception of general senses like temperature, pain, fear here. So it is the somatosensory area which is present on the parietal lobe. It is collecting the sensation of pain here, but pain is basically they are the LJC receptors and nociceptors. They are the free nerve endings which are present on the skin here. So please note it down carefully. For the pen, there are LJC receptors or nociceptors. They are the free nerve endings which are present on the skin. The area or lobe which is related to receive the pen, that is the parietal lobe, and this area is having the somatosensory area here. Now, pressure and touch. What is the difference between pressure and touch? The meaning of pressure, it means it is the deep pressure, and meaning of touch, it is the light pressure. It is the light pressure. Both are the type of pressure. It is the light pressure here. So meaning of that is the pressure, that is the deep pressure, and meaning of touch, that is the light pressure here. So related with the deep pressure, you have to remember one short form DPT. DPT. Related with the pressure, you have to remember one short form, that is known as the DPT here. That is known as the DPT here. Related with the pressure, there is one short form you have to remember. Like deep pressure, the impulse or the structure which is responsible to collect the deep pressure, it is known as the Pacinian corpuscles. Pacinian corpuscles. It is known as the Pacinian corpuscles. Pacinian corpuscles. It is the Pacinian corpuscles, and it is a type of tango receptor. It is a type of tango receptor. It is a type of tango receptor. The Pacinian corpuscle is a type of tango receptor here. So you have to remember that Pacinian corpuscle, it is a type of tango receptor here. Pacinian corpuscles, it is a type of tango receptor here. So for the deep pressure, there is Pacinian corpuscles, that is a type of tango receptor. And where it is present, the Pacinian corpuscles, it is present in the dermis layer. It is present in the dermis, It is present in the dermis. It is present in the dermis here, and it is present in the subcutaneous tissue. It is present in the subcutaneous tissue of skin, tissue of body, subcutaneous tissue of body or subcutaneous tissue of skin here. So Pacinian corpuscle, that is a type that is responsible to receive the deep pressure here, and it is present in the dermis. Where it is present? It is present in the dermis. It is present in the dermis. It is present in the subcutaneous tissue of body. It is present in the dermis, and it is present in the subcutaneous tissue of the body here. Where it is present? It is present in the subcutaneous tissue of the body here. It is present in the subcutaneous tissue of the body here. When we are saying about the light pressure, the receptors for light pressure, they are present on the epidermis. They are present on the epidermis. They are present on the epidermis. They are present on the fingertips. They are present on the fingertips. They are present on the fingertips. They are present in the sole. They are present in the sole of feet here. Sole of feet here. That is the location for to receive receptors for the light pressure. Those who are collecting the light pressure here. Epidermis, fingertips, sole of the feet here. Related with the light pressure, the receptors which are present, they are known as the tactile receptors. Related with the light pressure, the receptors which are present, they are known as the tactile receptors here. Here, for the deep pressure, they are the tango receptor. For deep pressure, they are the Pacinian corpuscles, or they are the tango receptor. Tango receptor, D for deep. For Pacinian corpuscles, tango receptor. Here for tactile pressure, here it is for the tactile receptor. They are the tactile receptor, and there are two included in the tactile receptors here. There are two included in the tactile receptors here. There are two included in the tactile receptors here. First one, that is known as the Meissner's corpuscles. Meissner's corpuscles, that is known as the Meissner's corpuscles. That is known as the Meissner's corpuscles. And second one, that is known as the Merkel's disc. Second one, that is known as the Merkel's disc here. So two are included in the tactile receptor. One, that is known as the Meissner's corpuscles, and second one, that is known as the Merkel's disc here. So related with the sense of touch, one, that is the mechanoreceptor, we have already discussed, and second one, that is the thermoreceptor. We have already discussed related with the thermoreceptor, that is including the end bulb of Puget and end bulb of Ruffini there. So this you have to remember related with the mechanoreceptor here. Again saying, see towards the board carefully. Mechanoreceptor, they are related with the three. There are three different types of stimulus they are receiving: PPT, pen, pressure, and touch. Related for the pen, there is algesiceptors or nociceptors. Algesiceptors or nociceptors, they are the free nerve endings which are present on the skin. They are the free nerve endings which are present on the skin here. In the brain, there is a dedicated lobe to receive the pen, that is the parietal lobe, and there is one area, that is the somatosensory area is there. Related with the pressure, there is deep pressure, there is DPT. We can say for the deep pressure, there is Pacinian corpuscles. They are also known as the tango receptor, and they are the deep, it means that they are present on the dermis and subcutaneous tissue of the body here. Related for the touch, it is the light pressure. They are present on the epidermis, they are present on the fingertips, they are present on the sole of the feet. And here for the touch, there is one tactile receptor, and there are two types of tactile receptor. One that is known as the Meissner's corpuscles, and second one that is known as the Merkel's disc here. So I will send you the notes also, but see carefully here, because it is important. They will ask tango receptor, they will ask tactile receptor, and what is the location of light pressure, deep pressure, you have to remember here. Thermoreceptor, already I told two types of thermoreceptor. Frigidoreceptor. Frigido means cold, that is the, we can say here, end bulb of Puget. And caloreceptors means heat, that is the, I will say, end bulb of Ruffini here. So we have already discussed about this, that is the different types of receptors. This one is about the different types of receptors which are present in the human body here. Different types of receptors which are present in the human body here. These are the different types of receptor here. Now we have to discuss the sense of olfaction, the sense of smell, and the sense of vision here. So now first of all we are going to start the sense of vision. It means for the sense of vision, the first type is the photoreceptor here. They are asking up to the internal structure of the eye here, so easily we will complete here. So now we are coming on this type of receptor, that is known as the photoreceptor here. Now this is the photoreceptor, and related with the photoreceptor we are having a pair of eyes here. Okay, now we are going to discuss eye. What is the semi? What is the weight of each eye? Weight of each eye. What is your opinion? Okay, what is the weight of each eye? Please type what you are thinking. What is the weight of each eye? Say, please type what is the average weight of each eye. It is in grams or kilograms or milligrams. Okay, so weight of each eye, that is the 6 to 8 grams. 6 to 8 grams. 6 to 8 grams. Weight of each eye, that is 6 to 8 grams here. Diameter of the eye, that is the 2.5 centimeters. Diameter of the eye, that is the 2.5 centimeters here. Diameter of each eyeball, that is the 2.5 centimeters here. When we are saying about the position, we have already discussed that eyeball is present in the eye orbit. Eyeball is present in the eye orbit. Remembering, this is the eyeball, and eyeball is present in the bony structure, that is known as the eye orbit. Eyeball is present in the eye orbit, and we have already discussed that between eyeball and eye orbit 6 muscles are present. Between eyeball and eye orbit, how many muscles are present? 6 muscles are present. 6 muscles are present between the eyeball and eye orbit. Between eyeball and eye orbit, 6 muscles are present. These are the 6 muscles, 4 by the black color and 2 by the red color. That is superior rectus, inferior rectus, lateral rectus, medial rectus, superior oblique, inferior oblique. These muscles are known as the extraocular muscles. These muscles are known as the extraocular muscles. Those who are responsible for the position of eyeball into the eye orbit, and they are also responsible for the movement of eyeball in the eye orbit here. We have already discussed that the third, fourth and sixth pair of cranial nerve, they are also known as the extraocular muscle nerve. Remember, LR6, lateral rectus muscle, is controlled by the sixth pair of cranial nerve, that is the abducens. SO4, superior oblique muscle, is controlled by the fourth pair of cranial nerve, that is the trochlear. Okay, and we can say remaining 4 are controlled by the third pair, that is known as the oculomotor here. So who is responsible for the position of eyeball into the eye orbit? That is the extraocular muscles here. Now just see, when we are saying about the internal structure of eye, internal structure of eye, eyeball, internal structure of eyeball here. So eyeball, it is made up of 3 layers. Eyeball, it is made up of 3 layers. Eyeball, it is made up of 3 layers. One, that is known as the outer layer. The outer layer is known as the sclera. It is known as the fibrous cord. Outer layer is known as the sclera, and it is known as the fibrous cord. Outer layer known as the sclera, and the sclera is known as the fibrous cord. See, second one, that is known as the middle layer. Middle layer is known as the choroid. It is known as the choroid. It is known as the vascular cord. Middle layer is known as the choroid, and it is known as the vascular cord here. So outer, that is the sclera, that is the fibrous cord, and middle layer, that is the choroid, that is known as the vascular cord. Inner layer of eyeball, that is the retina. And this retina is known as the nervous cord. Here. So outer layer is the sclera known as the fibrous cord. Middle layer, that is the choroid, that is known as the vascular cord, and inner layer is retina, that is the nervous cord here. Note down one point carefully. Note down one point carefully. Sclera and choroid are mesodermal in origin. Sclera and choroid, they are mesodermal in origin. Sclera and choroid are mesodermal in origin. Getting rest of the eye, that is ectodermal. Rest of the eye, that is the ectodermal. It means retina also ectodermal. Okay, so this you have to remember. Lens also ectodermal. So just see, the sclera and choroid, they are mesodermal. Rest of the eye, that is the ectodermal. It means eye is meso-ectodermal in origin. Eye is meso-ectodermal in origin here. What is the origin of eyeball? That is the ecto-mesodermal in origin here. So how many layers in the eyeball? Sclera, choroid, and the retina here. Sclera, choroid, and retina here. So now we are going to discuss the structure related with the eyeball here. Functioning in the next test, so we will discuss after it. So first we are going to discuss the structure of eyeball here. The outermost layer of the eyeball, it is the sclera. The outermost layer of the eyeball, that is the sclera. The outermost layer of the eyeball, that is the sclera here. It is the outermost layer of eyeball, that is known as the sclera. So if I will say here, that is the sclera here. The outermost layer of the eyeball, that is the sclera. So now, what is this? This is the sclera. The outermost layer of the eyeball, it is the sclera. Getting? Sclera is also known as the fibrous coat. Sclera is also known as the fibrous coat. So what are the important points related with the sclera that you have to remember? Sclera, that is the layer here. Sclera, first point, it is the only complete layer of eyeball. It is the only complete layer of eyeball. Sclera is the only complete layer of eyeball. It is the only, out of sclera, choroid, retina, it is the only complete layer of eyeball. Second point, it is mainly made up of white collagen fibers. Mainly it is made up of fibrous tissues. And in the fibrous tissues, mainly it is having the white collagen fiber. It means whichever is observed white in the eye, that is the sclera. When we are observing the eye, what is the red white in color? That is the sclera. That's why sclera is also known as the white of the eye. Sclera is also known as the white of the eye here. So these are the 3 points that you have to remember. Only complete layer of eyeball, first point. Mainly made up of white collagen fibers, that is the fibrous tissue. It is mainly made up of white collagen fibers. It is also known as the white of the eye here. Known by you. Collagen fibers, they are the tough fibers. They are the strong fibers here. So what is the function of sclera? Sclera maintains the shape of eyeball. Who is maintaining the shape of eyeball? That is the sclera. Sclera maintains the shape of eyeball and protects, and the sclera protects internal structures. It protects the internal structures here. So just see here, it protects the internal structures here. So sclera, only complete layer of eyeball, mainly made up of white collagen fibers. That's why it is known as the white of the eye, which is visible white in the eye. That is the sclera. It maintains the shape of the eyeball because it is tough layer. and it protects internal structure here. So this one is about the outermost layer, that is the sclera here. At the anterior part, sclera continues as cornea. At the anterior part, the sclera, this is the sclera here, it continues as cornea. At the anterior part, the sclera continues as cornea. At the anterior part, the sclera continues as cornea here. So first see the points related with the sclera. Only complete layer of eyeball, first point. Second point, mainly made up of white collagen fiber. Second point, mainly it is made up of white collagen fiber, so it is known as the white of the eye. Getting? And it is a tough layer, so it maintains the shape of the eyeball and protects the internal structure here. At the anterior end or at the anterior side, the sclera continues as cornea. The sclera continues as cornea. The sclera continues as cornea here. Related with the cornea, you have to remember so many points. First one, it is a transparent structure. Transparent structure, that is the part of sclera. Transparent structure. Second, it is capable to absorb light. It is capable to absorb light. It is capable to absorb light. Second point, it is capable to absorb light. Main important point, the cornea is avascular. The cornea is avascular. There is no blood vessels. There is no blood supply. Cornea is avascular. There is no blood supply. This is the important point. Cornea is avascular. So there is no blood supply. Cornea is avascular, so there is no blood supply. So there is no antibody reaction. So there is no antibody reaction. So there is no antibody reaction. So just see, cornea is avascular. There is no blood supply, but it is capable to absorb the light. It is avascular, so there is no antigen. There is no antigen-antibody reaction. No, it is important. There is no antigen-antibody reaction because it is avascular. So there is no antigen-antibody reaction. But this part is capable to absorb the light. So in the eye donation, we are doing the corneoplasty. In the eye donation, we are not donating the complete eye. We are doing the corneoplasty. Because cornea is capable to absorb the light here. So in the eye donation, we are doing the corneoplasty here. And in cornea, that is avascular, no antigen-antibody reaction. So corneoplasty is almost successful. There is no chance of failure because there is no antigen-antibody reaction. So there is no graft rejection is there. So this is very important that in eye donation we are doing the corneoplasty here. In the eye donation we are doing the corneoplasty because cornea, it is capable to absorb the light, but there is no blood supply, so there is no antigen-antibody reaction. That's why corneoplasty is done in the eye donation here, and which is almost successful here. So this is one related with the cornea. Now they are asking, cornea is avascular, so just see, there is no blood supply. So from where it is getting the nutrition? First point, from where it is getting the nutrition, as there is no blood supply. So from where it is getting the nutrition? It is getting the nutrition from aqueous humor. When we will discuss about the internal structure of the eye, we will see the aqueous humor. So it is getting the nutrition from the aqueous humor. It is getting the nutrition from the aqueous humor here. So it is getting the nutrition from aqueous humor. The cornea getting nutrition. The cornea getting nutrition from aqueous humor. The cornea getting nutrition from aqueous humor. This is the one point you have to remember. It absorbs oxygen. It absorbs oxygen. From where it is getting the oxygen? It absorbs oxygen from the environment. It absorbs oxygen from the environment and from the aqueous humor. And from the aqueous humor here. It absorbs oxygen from environment and from the aqueous humor here. So just see, these are the two extra points that you have to remember, that there is how it is no blood supply is there, so how it is getting its nutrition. It is getting its nutrition from aqueous humor. That is the one point is important. How it absorbs the light? It is absorbing the light from the environment, because this is direct in contact with the environment and from the aqueous humor here. So these are the points that you have to remember related with the cornea here. Cornea is nothing, it is the continuation of sclera at the anterior part here. Almost 5/6 part of the outermost layer, that is the sclera, and 1/6 part that is known as the cornea here. So this one is the cornea. Avascular, very important, avascular, no antigen antibody reaction, and it is capable to absorb the light. So it is used in the eye donation here. It is transparent. From where it is getting the nutrition? Aqueous humor. From where it is absorbing the oxygen? It is absorbing the oxygen. It is absorbing the oxygen from the environment and from the aqueous humor here. Now see carefully. Cornea is covered by another transparent membrane. Cornea is covered by another transparent membrane that is known as the conjunctiva. Cornea is covered by another transparent membrane that is known as the conjunctiva here. So this one is nothing, it is the conjunctiva. Cornea is covered another conjunctiva. Cornea is covered another transparent membrane. First of all, it is a transparent membrane. It is a transparent membrane. It is a transparent membrane, and it is vascular. It is vascular. Cornea is covered. The non-vascular cornea is covered by vascular conjunctiva. It is having the blood vessels. It is having the blood vessels here. So non-vascular cornea is covered by the vascular conjunctiva. Conjunctiva is nothing, it is the thinnest epidermis. Conjunctiva is nothing, it is the thinnest epidermis. Conjunctiva is nothing, it is the thinnest epidermis here. Conjunctiva is nothing, it is the thinnest epidermis here. So conjunctiva. There are two parts of conjunctiva. One which is present on the eyeball, it means on the, we can say that is the cornea, that is known as the ocular conjunctiva. That is known as the ocular conjunctiva. That is known as the ocular conjunctiva. And one which is present on the upper side of that eyelids here, that is known as the, which is related with the eyelids, that is known as the palpebral conjunctiva. Palpebral conjunctiva. Palpebral conjunctiva, that is related with the eyelids. For the eyelids there is one term that is known as the palpebrae. So it is the related with the palpebrae, that is known as the palpebral conjunctiva. Inner side of eyelids, that is the palpebral conjunctiva here. So conjunctiva, that is ocular, one part that is the ocular conjunctiva, and second part that is the palpebral conjunctiva is there. This you have to remember here. Now viral and bacterial infection in the conjunctiva. Viral and bacterial infection in the conjunctiva, we are known this is conjunctivitis. Conjunctivitis. Itis means inflammation. Itis means the inflammation. Inflammation of conjunctiva, that is known as the conjunctivitis here. And here we know when there is conjunctivitis now, there is redness of the eye, itching, foreign body sensation. These are the characters of conjunctivitis here. You have to remember one more point. Chronic contagious conjunctivitis. Chronic contagious conjunctivitis is known as the trachoma. Chronic contagious conjunctivitis is known as the trachoma. Chronic contagious conjunctivitis is known as the trachoma. It is known as the trachoma. Chronic contagious conjunctivitis is known as the trachoma. So chronic contagious conjunctivitis, it is known as the trachoma. Chronic contagious conjunctivitis, it is known as the trachoma. And here there is an involvement of a microorganism that is known as the chlamydia. That is known as the chlamydia trachomatis. chlamydia trachomatis. So chronic contagious conjunctivitis, that is known as the trachoma. Chronic contagious conjunctivitis, that is known as the trachoma. And here there is involvement of one microorganism, that is known as the chlamydia trachomatis. That is known as the chlamydia trachomatis. So this you have to remember related with the conjunctiva. Conjunctiva, that is the thinnest epidermis. Thinnest epidermis, that is known as the conjunctiva here. And viral and bacterial infection, swelling in the inflammation in the conjunctiva, that is known as the conjunctivitis. What is this known? It is known as the conjunctivitis here. It is known as the conjunctivitis here. It is known as the conjunctivitis, that is the viral and bacterial infection of the conjunctiva, that is known as the conjunctivitis here. Now just see here, in aquatic animals, the eyeball is protected by, eyes are protected by, they are protected by a transparent membrane, The eyeball is protected by, eyes are protected by a transparent membrane, that is known as the nictitating membrane. That is known as the nictitating membrane here. So in aquatic animals, the eyeball is protected. In aquatic animals, the eyeball is protected by another transparent membrane, that is known as the nictitating membrane here. So in aquatic animal, the eyes are protected by a transparent membrane. The eye is protected by a transparent membrane, that is known as the nictitating membrane here. It is absent in human beings. It is absent in human beings. The nictitating membrane is absent in the human beings here. So the nictitating membrane is absent in the human beings, but its vestigial means remaining part, but its vestigial are present. And they are present on the inner part of eye. When we are observing the inner part of the eye, it means inner canthus, we are observing here that there is a triangular shaped structure. Inner part of eye, there is one triangular shaped structure. And this triangular shaped structure is known as the plici semilunaris. So here there is no function of this plici semilunaris. So just see, in aquatic animals, the eye is protected by a transparent membrane, that is known as the nictitating membrane here. It is absent in human being, but it is present as a vestigial structure on the inner part of eye, that is triangular shape, that is known as the plici semilunaris. Here. So this is the triangular shaped structure which is present on the inner side, that is known as the plici semilunaris here. So this one is about the nictitating membrane and about the sclera here. The second layer of eyeball, that is known as the choroid. What is the name of the second layer? That is known as the choroid. So now we are going to discuss about the second layer, that is known as the choroid. Choroid is also known as the uvea. It is also known as the vascular coat. Choroid is also known as the vascular coat. Now, why it is known as the vascular coat? The entire blood which comes in the eye first comes in contact with the choroid. So it is known as the vascular layer of eyeball. It is highly vascular. So it is known as the vascular layer of eyeball here. It is also known as the black inner pent. It is also known as the black inner pent because it is having a pigment and because it is capable to absorb the light, it is capable to absorb all the light, it is capable to absorb all the light entering into the eyeball, it is capable to absorb all the light entering into the eyeball, like what is happening in a camera now, that inner black pen, it is capable to absorb all the light entering into the eyeball with the help of one pigmented layer that is present in the retina. So it is what the function of chloride. Chloride prevents internal reflection. It prevents internal reflection. Chloride prevents internal reflection. Very important. What the function of chloride? It prevents the internal reflection. It prevents the internal reflection. It prevents the scattering of light. It prevents the scattering of light. It prevents the scattering of light also. It means here it is related, or it helps in the formation of a sharp image. It helps in the formation of a sharp image here. It helps in the formation of a sharp image here. That is the function of chloride, because it is the black inner band. It is capable to absorb all the light entering into the eyeball with the melanin containing epithelial cells which are present in the pigmented epithelium layer of the retina here. So this one is the chloride here. That is it is the incomplete layer, and it is having pigmented layer of eyeball. It is also known as the pigmented layer of eyeball. It is also known as the pigmented layer of eyeball because it is having the melanin pigment here, melanin like pigment which are capable to absorb the light here. So that is it prevents the internal reflection and helps. Now there are three parts of chloride. There are three parts of chloride. First one, that is known as the posterior choroid port. First one, that is known as the posterior choroid port. First one, that is known as the posterior choroid port. Second one, that is known as the ciliary body. Second one, that is known as the ciliary body. And third one, that is known as the iris. So there are three parts of the chloride: posterior choroid port, then the ciliary body and the iris here. So now just see here. I am going to draw here. That is the posterior choroid port. What I am going to draw by the red color here. That is the posterior choroid port. It is the pigmented layer of eyeball. It is the black inner band which is capable to absorb all the light. So it is preventing the scattering and internal reflection here. Now here at the anterior part, this one is the ciliary muscles. These are the ciliary muscles. Number of ciliary muscles, that is 1, because ciliary body, they are the circular band of a smooth muscle here. So this one is the posterior choroid port, red color, posterior choroid port. This is the posterior choroid port. This one is the ciliary body. This is the ciliary body. In the ciliary body, small ligaments are present. Like just see, these are known as the suspensory ligaments. What is their name? Suspensory ligament. What is their name? Suspensory ligament. They are known as the suspensory ligaments. They are also known as the zonule of Jin. They are known as the suspensory ligaments. They are also known as the zonule of Jin here. And here one structure is hanged. With the help of this, one structure is hanged. That is known as the lens. So tomorrow we will discuss about the ciliary body lens here. And just see the third part. The third part, that is again 1, number of ciliary body in one eye 1. Now at the anterior part, just see that is a layer here, that is a structure here, that is known as the iris. Again the number of iris, that is again a circular muscle. Number of iris is 1 here. So that is the iris. Just see, I'm making with the blue color here. Just see, it is the iris here. This is the iris. This one is the iris here. This is the iris here. Iris. So this one is the iris here. and the space between the iris is known as the pupil. So this space is known as the pupil here. So this space is known as the pupil. So just see, today we have completed up to the choroid. Tomorrow I will say about ciliary body, then iris, then pupil here. Then I will start the inner layer, that is known as the retina here. So tomorrow we will complete the syllabus also here. Okay, thank you, thanks a lot, thank you.